Hey, I'm George, one of the digital learning leads here at Boston College, and today we're going to be running a VR session with our level 3 year 2 business students. In this session today, they are going to be delivering their new business proposals to the AI. Part of their course specification is that they have to form this as like an interview where they have to pitch this to their peers, and traditionally they would do this with their colleagues. But the feedback that we got was that it was quite like scripted, it didn't feel genuine. So today we are setting out to give them a new experience where they're going to communicate with the AIs and Bodyswap. That just allows them to have a more unique experience where the questions are not what they expect them to be. They're asked to clarify on their roles and their questions, and we can use this for their assessment criteria because we get a nice report at the end of this. So on average, each conversation took about 12 minutes, which is pretty much kind of where we're aiming for them to be. We had really little to no sort of like trouble getting the activity running. The VR headsets work really flawlessly. The app is great. It remembers the login, so it really just makes that whole process of getting them all signed in and moved over to the next person super easy. Bodyswaps does a really, really good job of doing those questions for you based off just the prompt alone. But one thing, I'm a really big fan of the fact that we can just not completely, but you can take over. You can have as much control as you want in that respect. And it was because of these kind of interview questions being set up this way that I was able to think about if we can translate that to the open conversation one to get a bit more control over the responses, which we did, which we'll probably look at in another video. We went for 3 interviewers on this one, kind of like a softer, more friendly, approachable person, somebody who likes to clarify and is there with like a more data and analytical side, and then somebody who's there is a bit more firm, looking for kind of stronger responses. For some reason, probably my error, all 3 titles were the same in this one for the assessment criteria, but all of the actual descriptors in the bottom are different, and it like this is exactly what the students were kind of assessed against when they were having their conversation. So this is the performance section. This particular student didn't use a headset; they used an iPad, so they've only got they don't have the eye contact and body language in here, but they do have the rest of the things that professional conversations does offer, which is articulation, filler words, clarity, professionalism, etc. The main thing we're looking at is down here, which is where they've inserted our learning criteria. I believe at the time of recording, I could be wrong about this, you were only able to add 3, or we did only add 3, but you can now add 10, which is fantastic. The more criteria and the deeper the criteria is, I think is that's where the real value comes in with Bodyswaps. I've always said I really liked how Bodyswaps gives the feedback in its criteria. It doesn't just kind of say, you've succeeded, you've done this. It always starts with what they have done, how they've approached something, even if it wasn't done particularly well. And it gives them areas of strength, areas to improve, and how to kind of go further next time they were to do it. So realistically, a student should be able to take this kind of criteria take this feedback, from and they should be able to run straight into the next one and actually have something tangible to work on. And then finally, they have the transcript. So obviously they can check back on their entire conversation. They can work through their responses and see if there's anything they would improve, or maybe just think, actually, you know what, I do struggle to articulate that particular section. Obviously, as somebody who works in ed tech, I'm obviously going to say this, but I'd say it's one of my favorite sessions as a kind of in this role. Just like you can really see kind of the substantial impact it has. Like it's super easy to set up, super easy to run, interactive for the students. It's just the benefits to weigh up way more than the negatives. Huge thanks to Josh Hames as well for this one, for kind of like bringing the students and making sure they're all up for the filming. We are looking at doing a second run of this as well, and we do have a couple of adjustments we're going to make. I think with the next one we're actually going to look at moving it to home-based, because one of the pieces of feedback they did give us was that all being in the same room was a little bit of like a obstruction. It made them feel a little bit uncomfortable, which you can kind of understand, and it's something that was a bit of an oversight for me on the day. But we're going to look at how we can roll this out so they can do it a bit more comfortably at home. But that's essentially it. Super up for anybody that wants to kind of converse or talk about, or share how you guys using Bodyswaps or anything in sort of ed tech. We're really passionate about providing that sort of stuff to an area that doesn't generally have much access to technology. So
things like Bodyswaps, man, we just eat it up. It's fantastic.